Okay, guys, we got to change up the pace here a little bit. We got to talk about something pretty important. It's not exactly the conversation I wanted to have, but it's the conversation that I feel us as the community need to have. So, what's the topic for tonight? What is going on with Sparking Zero? Man, so much, but there's a review that's making the rounds. It's from Steam. Man, usually Steam, they leave these like really crazy, scathing reviews. They just drop these bombs and they just love to hate on games. But I'll tell you, this particular review I think is really interesting because I think it honestly embodies a lot of the sentiments that the community is having now with the game nearly 3 weeks in. So what is the review? Let's read it. This game was fun for the first week, but I had to uninstall because people online prefer to cheese instead of just have fun. The game is deliberately unbalanced, which on paper sounds fun until you understand that the player base can and will optimize the fun out of online play in favor of quick, cheap wins with low skill ceiling fighters, and they have already done so at the time of this review. It goes to show just how much gaming has changed since the last Budokai Tenkaichi, and how everyone has grown to prioritize virtual points over fun. You'd think that with a roster this enormous, there would be a huge diversity in the different fighters you'll be tackling. But if you buy this game with the intent to play online, you will go up against the same 12 characters, and your skilled plays will be punished with unskilled cheese. Unblockable attacks, hyper armor, auto dodge, stalling until the timer runs out, and the person with the most health across their entire team wins by default. Oh, and I've never gotten a beam clash in ranked. It's not meta to hit a beam attack with your own apparently. It's fun to do with your friends. It's extremely hype, but it's not optimal for quick and easy wins. Edit. And constructive criticism is met with clown awards because I guess I'm not giving the game enough for their liking. Wow, man, I mean, that is a mouthful, guys. Oh my god. I mean, look, guys, I mean, if I'm being honest, I really have only been waiting for this particular Dragon Ball game really since Raging Blast 2. Everything else in the middle, you know, was fun. I really enjoyed it. I loved Fighters. I loved Kakarot. I loved Xenoverse. But this was a game I was like, if they ever made this is like a dream come true. But I have to say, I gotta agree, guys. I'm sorry. I think the game is amazing. I think the base game has a lot of potential. I think they have something incredible that they're cooking, but I think it just got pulled out the oven a little too soon, guys. I think we needed a little bit more time to cook with this game because there are a couple of things that I have to agree with here. If you take the game on ranked, you are going to see the same guys because they do have access to some of the cheese in the game. I do want to tackle the idea of the game being deliberately unbalanced because when I hear that, I think of it a little differently. And if you guys disagree, let me know. I want to know your thoughts all the way through. When I think about the game being deliberately unbalanced, I'm thinking about, oh, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is a lot stronger than Goku Mid, okay? Or Super Saiyan Blue Vegito is a lot stronger than Pan. I'm thinking of stats, okay? So I'm thinking of like punch for punch, energy blast for energy blast. This character should be doing much more than this character because it's kind of lore accurate, right? That's what I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking about, oh, well, Broly can just go to sparking mode and then spam a whole bunch of ki blasts for the game, the entire game, and then throw an unblockable. That's not what I'm talking about what I think about when I think about a game being deliberately unbalanced. That's a mechanic issue. Okay, that's a mechanic issue that certain characters are able to exploit. Is that to say that the game is bad? No way, guys. I'm not saying that. I'm not making this video to say that the game is bad at all, because in fact, I think this game is amazing. It just needs a few tweaks. So I think that is for sure a tweak, and they need to look into things like that. There are absolutely ways that the characters that are being used now, primarily in ranked, there are ways for them to exploit the system a little bit, primarily, in my opinion, sparking mode, after image, power up to the very limit, and the unblockables. Now, am I to say that these moves you can't get around? No, because I made a video covering after image talking about how it's actually not that OP. But I'd be lying if I said that people aren't really trying to exploit after image and trying to use after image to cheese people out, because they absolutely are. And there are people absolutely using power up to the very limit to spam a whole bunch of key blast and then throw an ultimate that's unblockable at you. There are people that are cheesing these moves. So I can see how, for just normal players who just want to get online, they run into these problems because it's so rampant. So I definitely want to get your guys' opinion. Do you think these things need to be toned down in a patch? Do you think that everything is fine right now? I definitely want to hear you guys. And we all need to talk about this, seriously. Now, some of the gripes that I have with the game are things that I believe absolutely 100% can be fixed in the patch. And you guys tell me if you've ever experienced things like this. For one, input lag. And I don't think this is a connection issue. I think there's actual input lag and problems with the buttons registering. Somehow it's just not as responsive as like BT3. I know, like, when I'm pressing the buttons, what move I'm trying to get and what move is coming out, and I can do that without fail. But when you go to sparking, there is some kind of like lag or latency, some kind of delay in the response time when you're pressing buttons. So that is something for me that I think if that got resolved, maybe a lot of other issues may get resolved with that, because we're making the game just more fluid overall. Another thing I have an issue with, I'm not the biggest fan of the movement. I think the movement definitely needs a little bit of tweaking. I think removing the free dash was kind of a mistake. There's something with, I know the short dash is really good, and when you hit the short dash, it's amazing. But, you know, it does consume ki, and you don't really want to be dragon dashing all over the place. And because the maps are a lot bigger this time, I just think it would be better if we had access to the free dash as well, because normal movement is a little slow. Because the game is a fast-paced game, having a free dash, at least in my opinion, I think would help balance out some of the offense in the neutral settings. So I definitely do think it could use some slight tweaking, but I definitely want to know what you guys think about that too, because I'm not sure if many people mentioned that. But you know, this is a really valid concern. I think, again, guys, I want to get into some of the comments here. I made this post originally on the community post, and you know, I want to get to everyone's comments. I want to make sure everyone gets their voices heard. Fortunately, I have enough comments that I feel like I can get through tonight. So I want to transition this part of the video into addressing the comments. I want to, you know, give some commentary and talk about them. I want to converse with you guys because I think it's really important. I don't like viewing it as like a sub base. We're building a family here, guys. We're all a community. We're all massive fans of this franchise. So all of our voices count, and we all deserve to be heard. So let's transition into that. Let's start reading these comments. First top comment: don't care, I'ma play and do what I want. Dude, I agree. I'm doing that too. Like I'm right there with you, man. Like I'm not letting this stop me, man. I'm having fun. I'm loving the game. This game's dope. This game's awesome. I'm not letting this stop me, trust me. And I know there are a lot of other people out there who are doing the same, because we all know that no game is perfect at launch. It doesn't happen all the time. So for sure, brother. Same, I still play because it's fightable, but it takes the fun out of your heart sometimes. Wish there was just a community of people playing for fun. Well, there are people out there for sure, you know, definitely. If you have buddies You can get in the games with them. I'm sure there is, you know, there are people out there that aren't cheesing. That's for sure. It's not everyone out there, guys, but there definitely are a lot of people cheesing. Definitely valid. I've gone off online myself because it's Roshi spamming his unblockable, Pan, Kid Goku, and Videl spamming after image strike, Android spamming grabs, etc. Nobody wants to fight, just use gimmicks. You know, I agree, man. I agree. A lot of people don't want to fight. I think a lot of people will maybe attempt to do something in the beginning, but then as they start to lose, they might try to resort to other cheap tactics or cheesier tactics to try to get a win out. You know, honestly, it happens in every game, but certainly in this one, they do have an easier time getting access to some of the cheese stuff. But yeah, don't let it stop you, man. Don't let it stop you. Definitely come on back, because it is still a great game. I totally agree with this guy. I play base Super Saiyan 2 GT Goku and Aliza just because they're not meta, and I still can't win half my matches despite being decent. Just because people abuse fusions and run away to spark and stun lock you, there really needs to be some better prevention systems implemented like in BT3 to punish over-reliance on ability and sparking spam. I agree. I do think, I don't know if it's because, if it's, you know, the skill count bar raising too fast or not. I want to say yes, but I just don't know how much of the game would change if they were to slow the rate in which you get the skill count bars, because a lot of the game is really based around that. But because it does build so fast, people are able to abuse these moves. It's just how it is. You get the skill count bars, and if you have a character that powers up to the very limit, you're gonna get that real quick. And if you got an unblockable ultimate, you can pop that, or you can just result to the ki blast. Now, if you didn't have that move, and if you didn't get it all the time, maybe we wouldn't see so much sparking spam, and if we did, maybe it wouldn't even be that big of an issue. Here's another one. This is a valid review. If it wasn't for me having friends that play it from time to time, I'd never see any of the characters getting played. Yeah, I mean, certainly in ranked match, I mean, if it's just a single especially, you're gonna see the same guys. You know, again, I don't know if it's a problem or not, because every fighting game does have their top guys, and people were bound to pick them anyway. But if some of the mechanics, the core mechanics, get toned down, yeah, maybe you will see some other characters get thrown in there. I agree with this guy for sure. Even for me, online has been extremely toxic with the non-fun players. It's different if you genuinely know how to play good and give a good fight, but if it's cheap spamming every match on S Rank Plus, it's just not as fun. It's more of an, okay, let me try to win quick and get out of here. Changes have to be made for sure, 100. Good to see you back here, Mystic. Dude, I agree with you, man. Definitely is a toxic element right now. People are 100% taking full advantage of the fact that you can just rage quit and ki blast spam and all this stuff, so there is 100% a toxic element there. Next one, kind of agree. BT3 wasn't supposed to be a perfectly balanced fighter either, but the devs had the forethought on how to better balance OP stats. Instead of lowering your charge rate after popping a 3-stock sparking, now because the blast stocks increase incredibly fast, right? They can pop it anytime they want to, and unless you're good at vanishing, good luck trying to dodge an unblockable super with the way the game locks you in the opponent. It's like they took the skeleton of BT3 but kept out the things that neutralize cheese among the new stuff added. I enjoyed the game a lot, but online makes it feel like there's no order to it. Man, yes. I love the quote that you said here. It's like they took the skeleton of BT3 but kept the things out that neutralized cheese among the new stuff added. You hit the nail on the head right there. When you look back at BT3, there was absolutely some cheese there. And this kind of goes into like what I was saying about the game being unbalanced deliberately. It's a yes and a no thing, because the game if the mechanics allow for a character to excel, that character will. If we're trying to go lore accuracy, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta should have been the best character in BT3 because he's Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. But the pro players all agree pretty universally that Perfect Cell was the guy. It's just the system allowed Perfect Cell to be the best character in the game. Some people may flip-flop between Perfect Cell and Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, but I think a lot of people agree that Perfect Cell was the best character in BT3. Why? Because the mechanics allowed him to excel to that degree. The base game allowed for him to be crazy, but it wasn't to the point where Cell felt like he was so game-breaking that he was doing things that he shouldn't be doing. And it just really wasn't like that, because the core mechanics of the game were just so solid that it just didn't matter. But when I see this, they took the skeleton in BT3. For me, what I'm really thinking about is I'm really thinking about that input lag, because that just bothers me so much. And I wonder if other people are experiencing it. I haven't really seen too many people talk about it. Only a few, but I swear there is some kind of input lag. And it's not just an online thing, because it happens offline too. Next one, I ended up getting the B1 in ranked because of your oh man, dude, hey. Right on, man. Hey, dude, that's incredible, man. That actually really means a lot. But it's not just me, man. You did that. You did that all on your own, man. And I'm proud of you, man. That's awesome. You had a 95% win rate, but realized the further that you went, the less fun the game got. My biggest gripe isn't with the broken characters or cheesy skill moves, though those are issues. For me, the biggest issue is not being able to do any combos without getting immediately super countered and locked into a Vanish War. I understand why this exists. Characters like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta can annihilate your character in 1 or 2 combos, so there is need to be counterplay. But pressing R1 over and over for an entire minute is not the solution. Have it transition into a different minigame if it goes on for too long. Make the timing harder as it goes on. Anything to make it less tedious. This doesn't fix the super counter problem necessarily, but it certainly would make the game a lot more fun to play. DP costs are balanced. Character stats are balanced. Right now, it's fundamental gameplay flaws holding this game back. I'm gonna wait for some patches, see if they fix up some of the issues I have, then get back on the rank grind. Until then, it's custom battles all the way. That was beautifully said. And man, I'm so proud of you for getting that 95% win ratio, man. If you attribute that to my videos, man, thank you. But that's all you, man. That's all you, man. But yeah, no, I completely agree, and I want to touch up on the super counter. The super counter, exactly. I feel like it's a little bit too good, a little bit too efficient at doing its job. I understand why it's there, and I understand why it's there in favor of a traditional combo breaker. It's because this is a surefire way of getting out of those infinite combos that are inevitable with fighting systems like this. So you need it. You absolutely need it. But it's a little too good at its job right now, guys. I completely, wholeheartedly agree. At the high level of this game, at the highest level, it's just super counter after super counter, and it's just this Vanish War that sometimes it can get upsetting and tiring, because it's like, all right, this game is going on and on and on, and all we've been doing is vanishing. So something definitely needs to happen with that. I don't know what they can do. I know they have some options. There's some things I've thought about, but I'm not exactly sure if they're great. I would like to know in the comment section below what you guys think, because it 100% does need some adjustments. I agree 100%, except for the uninstall part. I'm just tubbing it through and trying to find a healthy balance of play for myself so I don't burn out one of my favorite games of all time. There you go. I refuse to let a toxic player base waste my money or ruin my fun. 100%. Don't uninstall the game, guys. Don't uninstall the game. Like, this is still a dope game. Like, it's fun. It's great. We are going through a little bit of a rough patch, some of us. Just tough it out, man. This is a good comment. Good stuff, man. Hi, I started playing a lot of 2D fighting games last year. I have 1,000 hours on Dragon Ball FighterZ and I love the game. I was super excited for Sparking Zero and loved the game initially, but once I got better at the mechanics, I realized the game isn't for me. The biggest turnoff for me is the training mode and super counters. Also, unblockable supers and instant sparking make the game frustrating and snowball super hard in my opinion. I would love to enjoy the game, I really would. I think it looks amazing and has a lot of love put in, but I don't have fun when I play it. Yeah, I think these are the sentiments. I think this is it right here. I mean, once you get to the higher levels, the game just becomes a game of super counters, who's getting into sparking first, and who could either key spam, who could throw that unblockable ultimate first. And yeah, that is the game. That is the game. And I think that's the... I don't want to say it's a problem, but there needs to be some kind of adjustment. And I do think for sure super counter needs some kind of adjustment. Either you make it harder to pull off, or you limit the vanishes somehow, or you take the vanishes into a different direction. So you vanish for a certain period and then you go into some kind of other clash or something that changes it up, because the vanishes can get a little tedious. Ranked online is atrocious, but that's just one game mode. The rest of the game is amazing. I would recommend grinding for max rank online if you want to keep your sanity. Yeah, for sure. I mean, ranked is definitely really hard. Ranked is pretty crazy. But it is an amazing game, for sure. The issue with Zero is that in their fear of the players using infinite combos, they invented a get out of jail free card. You spam every 5 to 10 seconds the super counter, therefore combos aren't as viable / effective as spam. And it's true. And you know, it is true. I think, my opinion, I think most people spam the super counter. I don't think most people really have cracked the timing. I know there's a thing where it's like, oh yeah, if the character's like punches going through your body, this is when you should super counter. Maybe in a technical sense, but I don't see too many people actually seeing that visual cue and saying, oh, this is when I should super counter. I don't, especially with the varying speeds of the characters. I think most people are just spamming super counter because all you really have to do is just match the rhythm of the character that you're fighting. So yeah, 100% can see that. And combos aren't as viable as the spam. So yeah, the unblockable ultimates, the characters that can pop 2 supers back to back, like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, he can pop 2 rush supers back to back. Yeah, I agree. I was just discussing this with some friends today online. I can understand and appreciate that the game is intentionally unbalanced, but that should be demonstrated through the stats and attack damage of each character. Instead, we have some characters with unblockable attacks, invincibility frames, and instant sparking. In my opinion, the ideal outcome for Sparking Zero is a game where you can feel the power and strength of characters like Broly or Gogeta, while still allowing for skillful players to remain competitive despite using weaker characters. I agree and support having strong characters with 4 health bars and higher damage outputs, but do they also need to have unblockable ultimates and instant sparking? Instant sparking should have a higher cost, and unblockable ultimates should be removed in my opinion. Also, another issue plaguing online comp is the ability to super counter almost any rush or smash attack. There should be a limit to when and how often you can super counter, or there should be a cost in some way. Having a defense mechanic that can negate any combo at any time discourages players from even trying to combo in the first place, and honestly I feel like it only further encourages people to spam instant sparking, spam key blast, and abuse characters with unblockable ultimates. There's more to discuss of course, but if the devs address those issues in the next 1 to 2 months, it would give me hope for the future of ranked play. I agree, 100%, that's the money right there. Unblockable ultimates, instant sparking, and the super counter definitely need to be toned down. They're right on most things. Lots of things are absolutely cooked mechanically speaking, and so is any nuanced discourse of the state of the game, because slackjaw idiots saw that dev interview / article / whatever you want to call it that talked about balance, quote, not being a focus, and immediately took that to mean that the game shouldn't be patched at all. The game's not even been out for a month, and yet every match that isn't with friends feels the same. It always some team comp focused around abusing whatever overturned skill they prefer, and it typically always leads to timeouts because Vanish Wars happen every other exchange and last forever because the timing doesn't change. Perception as a whole is a garbage mechanic with how it rots the brain of the average player into using it anywhere and everywhere, since it's usually just a better guard for them. And even as you fight better players, you realize they're just mashing block while holding perception because for whatever reason that's allowed, and it lets you negate most of the most readily available counters to perception, basically guaranteed throw text, deflects key blast barrages after the first one hits, allows you to auto correct against sidesteppers, etc. Not to mention super counters increased usage since you can pretty much just mash it whenever you want. You're getting cooked and it will work eventually at no resource cost, while the counter that does cost something barely even works and only from the front. The game is cooked outside of friend lobbies without some major changes that need to be and should be made in the future. Perception for sure, I think, is one of those things where it's like it has some part of it that is okay and fine, but there is a part of it that is a little bit too strong. I don't think, and I mentioned this in my perception video, I don't think you should be able to get a super perception in the middle of a rush string. And what I mean by rush string, I mean when you mash square all the way to the point where you've knocked them back, you step in and then you go again for the next rush sequence. I don't think you should be able to super perception in that. I think that's a little bit too strong because that area really should be reserved for the guessing game of going high, mid, or low. That's how it was in BT3, and that's kind of how it's set up here. They set you up to be able to do that mix up, and I think super perception being triggered in that little sequence is pretty strong, and I don't know if it should be there. I think it's it's such a strong mechanic everywhere else that just being right there in the middle of that step-in combo, being able to trigger a super perception really makes it crazy. Like, there is no point in comboing someone from the front. You're always going to have that skill count bar, and the players that know that you can super perception in that window, they're going to do it every single time. So that is definitely a very powerful mechanic that could use a very slight tweak, in my opinion, because I don't think it's broken outside. I don't. I just think it's only within that little rush sequence after that step in. I think that you shouldn't be able to super perception that. It's just a little too strong there. Make these changes and the game will improve. Vanish changes. Super counters beat Vanish. You get put into a stun. After multiple Vanish, trigger a clash. That's one. Yes, I thought of that too. You trigger the clash, you go into a QTE similar to other impacts. Each successful Vanish gets faster and costs way more ki. After image strike, visible activation animation. Yes, yes, and yes. Every other 15-second buff in this game has an activation animation. UI buff icon for 15 seconds duration. Every other 15-second buff is displayed on the UI. Instant sparking, key exhaustion added. You can't enter sparking again until you manually charge back to full. Skill gauge, any skills interrupted, you lose the skill points unless it's a defensive skill, explosive wave, etc. Use CC or distance to use skill safely. Similar to supers, if you whiff, you don't get the key back until you land it. You get punished by missing damage and losing ki. One of the biggest problems with After Image Strike, I feel, with a lot of people is that you don't get the notification that it is working or that it just got activated. The only indication that you have to go off of is by watching the skill count bar and watching it go down by 3. While it's not that crazy, but yeah, it would be nice if you had like some kind of visual like icon or something that pops up, or the name briefly pops up for a second so you know that the person just activated After Image, so it's time to either run or use some key blast, whatever. Yeah, I like your idea with the clash. I think that's great, and in fact, I think the Budokai Tenkaichi 4 fan-made game had that. After the clashes, you went into after the vanishes, you went into the clash, and that is a good mechanic, and I think that's a good way. One of many good ways I think they could solve the vanish issue. I agree, and I think that's why being unbalanced is not something good and never will be, because the game isn't balanced in a lore-wise, funny, quirky way. No, it's unbalanced in the sense of not being fun because of super powerful skills and absurd mechanics. 100%. It's definitely down to the skills and the mechanics that allow for some of the cheesiness that we're seeing today, for sure. As much as I want to use fun characters like Bardock or Goku Black, once you get to S rank and beyond, it's just not feasible to use those characters and have a fun experience. It's just not worth the amount of work you have to put in versus your Z Broly's, Gogetas, etc. So you either conform or have a terrible experience, and in whichever avenue you take, you aren't having any semblance of fun. And that's not to mention the staleness of Super Counter / Vanish Wars, which is an entirely different yet very relevant matter. The game is, in my opinion, in a terrible state and will not have a long span if it doesn't make some sweeping changes. Man, that's a heavy statement. You know, I think there are going to be some changes. I would give it until the new year. I think they're waiting. They want to get a really good patch out. They're listening. The changes will be here. Maybe sooner than that. But I think, honestly, by the new year, we'll have possibly a different game in our hands than we do now. Actually, they just got to make the skill counter go way slower, like a 0.40. Oh yeah, for sure. I think that would be a good move. I think it goes way too fast right now, and because you're in those vanish counters so much, you're building that skill count meter already as it is, like an insane amount. So for sure. Well, they have a ranked mode that players compete for. Hitting a beam clash isn't going to help me get my rank, so I won't do it. Can't have your cake and eat it too here. Can't say I love the game because it's unbalanced and then say people are cheesing me online, and that sucks. That's what it's meant to have, an unbalanced game. Personally, the game is too bare bones. Vanish Wars are lame. Super Counter is lame. Can't even do any combos because defense is too good. The gameplay loop becomes spam rush attacks and smashes while vanishing and super countering to the best of your ability. It gets old fast. It's not even fun to watch. Played it for like a week, and after that I've seen everything it has to offer. You will note that I've said nothing about the game needing to be competitive when giving my opinion. The gameplay loop isn't fun, add the bugs, and the game is just mediocre with the side of BT nostalgia from way back. Feels like an incomplete cash grab. I still tune in to Sparking videos every now and then, but once the gameplay starts to get boring, I click off. I'm curious what the retention is on your Sparking videos. Do viewers tend to watch all the way through, or is clicking off just a me thing? Well, I think a lot of people, and I know especially on Twitter, there was a video that was going around that showed a clip from a tournament that had taken place a couple weeks ago. It was the one in Tampa. They were using the androids to Dragon Dash around to get around the Sparky mode. And I think a lot of the people who saw that, and then on top of that, there were a whole bunch of like Z counter, super countering little tidbits in there. And I think a lot of people saw that and were like, whoa, this is not a competitive game. They just weren't having fun with how it looked visually. So I feel like there are a lot of people in that boat who aren't really tuning into the high level play, because it is kind of the same thing. It's super counter, super counter, super counter, vanish, 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 vanish. And so I feel like a lot of people aren't really enjoying some of the high level play, which is unfortunate because it is really fun to play. But I think, yeah, like watching it, some people just aren't really tuning in like I feel like they should be. For a game of this magnitude, I feel like people should be wanting to see it played at the highest level, because it should just be awesome, you know? Yeah, I agree, honestly. Make super counters cost a skill point and the rest of the cheese can be handled to some extent. They nerfed Yajirobe to a degree, so the most you see is Master Ultra Instinct Goku 37% Z rank, which isn't too annoying to deal with. Yeah, I mean, there should be a super counter adjustment. There should be a super counter adjustment. I don't know if it's a skill point thing. I don't know if it needs to be a tighter link or something, but there definitely should be something, I think, with the skill counter. It would be cool if you expanded on that. Hey, shout out to you, man, because that's why I'm making this video. So yeah, man, here we are. I hope it's good, man. I hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, it's one of the most upsetting games I've ever played in a competitive sense. Still fun, want to get great at it, but I'm just gonna play Legendary Super Saiyan Broly in singles from now on, so I don't torture myself. Oh, I know what you're doing, man. Hey, you can't fool me, man. I know what you're doing with that character, and I know you're not just doing combos. I know you're not just doing combos. It is what it is, man. It's all good. Have fun. The game is just like most modern media today, a shell of what it used to be. Wow. Only returning to take money from the fans using nostalgia. Half of the fan base loves it because they'd rather have something than nothing, even if it's a horrible attempt at a BT3 adaptation, and the others get hate for criticizing it. Man, you know, one thing I will say is that, yeah, I mean, with a DBZ game, I'll play any DBZ game because I'm such a fan of the franchise, as I believe we all are. Especially if you're this far into the video, I believe you're probably like a big DBZ nerd like I am. So we're all here for the love of the franchise, for sure. I think the reason matches feel so cheesy is because you have strong characters on top of really OP system mechanics like Z Counter. For sure, for sure. Insta sparking and unblockables gotta go. Damn. Yeah, I mean, those are really strong. Before the comments get flooded, I fully agree. In DP and in singles, I'm in B2, I think, and to be honest, I'm having fun, but Vanish Wars, 182 characters and only fighting the same how that guy said 12 Jiren, UI 2019, the Gogetas, the Vegetos, FFS Wheelo, and now nerfed Roby, might be forgetting one or two Broly's. Stall tactics and the controversial super counter might be the wrong term. Just made the gameplay pretty meh, even though I do love the genre in the game. But not only that, but when you do get a win or in your way of getting a win with your favorite character, well, they pull the classic DB fighters master tactic, rage quit, and with little knowledge I have about the game, because mainly I'm just a casual player, you receive no penalty for this. I have more mini complaints, but it's 3 AM and I'm tired before anyone tells me, yes, I need to get better, I'm trash at the game, and yes, I need to delete the game. No, don't delete the game. Don't delete the game. Stay with us, stick with us, stick with us, because things are getting better. I don't know, it kind of bothers me that people exclusively complain about cheese and not the blatantly obvious unfinished gameplay elements, like the obvious Vanish War issue and the super counter being double the window BT3 was, with no cooldown reset if you mash. Yes! Yes, there needs to be some kind of cooldown. You should only be able to attempt a certain counter, the super counter, like once within a certain window, and then there needs to be a cooldown where if you start mashing, it just will not come out. For sure. I think that's a good fix. Sparking Zero is the most overhyped game I've ever played in my life. Nah, I don't know, man. I'm really enjoying this game. I think it's dope. I think we got a great product. I think we just need a few tweaks. Just a few. It's kind of whatever. As a diehard Yamcha and Tien main, I already kind of knew what was cut out for me. If they're ass in the show, they're ass in the game. Except for Yajirobe. Yeah, it's funny, man. Yajirobe became the GOAT. And Yamcha and Tien, they're just like, I haven't fought one, dude. I haven't seen one Yamcha or Tien. They're right, but there's still plenty of other things to do in the game. Play on your own with friends, but yeah, online effing blows. We're gonna make it better. We're gonna make it better. Crazy that everyone feels the same way. Cheesers ruin the game for people that come from BT2 to BT3 era. I'm barely at A3, and I use Super Vegeto. I don't cheese. I know how to play the game actually, and I get spammed because some has PTSD online. You know, guys, yeah, I talked to a lot of BT3 guys. I don't know if they're feeling it right now. I don't know if they're feeling it right now. I think a lot of the pro guys, they're kind of waiting on a big patch. They're waiting to figure out what's happening next. The main balance concern is not with characters, but in-game mechanics that make the game more boring, like how easy Z counter is currently and how long Vanish Wars can last. Besides that, I enjoy the game. It's a casual game anyways, although of course better balance is always appreciated. People like to stink into some kind of doom or lame community of gaming where they only complain with each other all the time. Just play the game as a 3D anime fighter. You knew what you were getting. Yeah, for sure, man. It's definitely not a game to be taking like seriously like that. It's not competitive. It's not, you know, it's not Mortal Kombat. It's not, you know, any one of these games going to Evo. It's fun. It's very fun. But I do think that there should be people who are able to play it at a high level and enjoy it. And I think that people who don't want to play at a high level should be able to enjoy it just the same. And I think the mechanics should allow for both players to coexist within the ecosystem that's being built here. Skill issues, debatable. I think there are partly some issues here. There are skill issues, for sure. I think that's partly an element. If you don't like the game, then stop playing it or play offline. Simple, maybe, just maybe, you can look in the mirror and address the real problem. The devs could revamp the whole game and you could get the same result, so who's to blame then? Like I said, I think there are some issues that are skill issues, and then others are actual real problems that should be looked into. People gotta stop crying about the game and adjust. If it's too hard, then do what he did and uninstall the game. But giving the game a bad review because his experience is bad is irrelevant for real. You know, yeah, I wouldn't have given the game a bad review. I don't think this is a bad review game. So I 100% agree there. I think giving the game a bad review was kind of the wrong call because it is a good game. Unless you take it to a level where you're trying to play in a more balanced setting. And I don't want to say competitive play, I just want to say like even casual play online. I feel like, yeah, it is a little too easy to cheese stuff, but if you're taking it all offline, excellent game, 10 out of 10. So yeah, don't give it a bad review, please don't. Honestly, I agree this game is being ruined by people who only think winning is an option. People care too much about points that don't really matter. I feel like online gaming has heavily fallen off and shows you can't really have fun like that anymore. The only way to have fun is to play with friends, and even that, some people get bored of doing. Yeah, you know, I think, you know, it's appropriate to get the right patches. We got to get the right patches out. We don't want to just, all of us, complain about one particular issue and then find out later on that it was just because it was a skill issue, and then we had this patched, and because we had that patched, that snowballed into us having an overall bad game. So yeah, I do think we need to be very careful. And we need to pick our battles appropriately, find what's really broken in the game, and then pinpoint that, and then really be sure about it, double check our work, and say, okay, this is a broken mechanic for sure, this needs adjustments, let's patch this, and we'll do that. And I think that's how it should be handled. I don't think we need to come in and complain about everything unless it's like blatantly obvious that it's like, hey, no, this needs to be addressed for sure. But it seems like the sentiments are here. I want to get everyone's opinion, so if you didn't comment in the comment section on that post right there in the community, I want you to please comment here. If you stuck with this video this far, you probably really care as much as I do. This is a community game. I love this community. I love this franchise. I know we all love Dragon Ball Z, and it's about just ultimately making this experience more enjoyable for everyone across the board. So please make your voices heard, and if it's not to me, voice it somewhere else, because it's for the betterment of everyone playing these games, guys. So thank you for sticking with me, guys. It was an interesting night tonight. We definitely did take a new angle. I wanted to address, you know, these comments here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the game. I know this is a little bit of a longer video, but if you stuck with me so far, I really appreciate you. Thank you, guys. I love y'all, and I love this game. I love Dragon Ball Z, so we gotta make it the best it can be, guys. All right, y'all. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.